Okay, so today we are going to learn to throw, and I'm going to try and shoot this in a way that if you need a review, you can look it up. So I have all the tools with me that I need. I have a wire cutter, needle tool, wood rib, sponge, something to shape with. I brought my credit card. Not sure if I'll need my wood modeling tool, but I got it here. I've got 2 wedge balls of clay and a half a bucket of water. So I'm going to throw on a kick wheel. You guys can throw on the electric wheels if you want. If I'm not on here, then you can throw on here. But I really like this because it's both a kick wheel and an electric wheel, so I can have the benefits of both. Also because I sit really straight. You're not gonna. When I throw for 5 periods in a row and lean over like I do on these, my back starts to hurt. So first thing you want to do is get your ball of clay, and you're going to put it right in the middle, and then you're going to squish your edges down. And then at that point there should be no water on the wheel, otherwise it gets slippery and it slides off. So we're just pushing these edges down so the water doesn't get underneath. And now what I need to do is make sure that this piece is really set into the wheel. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. This is a little bit noisy. And it has a foot pedal down at the bottom that spins it. Now I'm going to get wet. So I take my hands and I dribble a little bit on. And then I usually dunk my hands a second time. And I'm going to put my hands down on the edge to stabilize, and I'm going to push this clay down. I'm staying as steady as I can. My arms are not moving, my hands are not moving. And you'll end up with a little volcano-ish look. Okay? So now we're going to do what is usually the hardest for most people, and that is getting this lump of clay to rotate perfectly. So we do it by this method called coning up and coning down. Using the heel of your hand, you're going to push the sides, and basically you're squeezing it. It'll be hardest on the first time because it's the most off center. And you notice that my hands are still pretty low. It's snuck up above my hand, so now I'm going to come up to it. But elbows are down, or they're tucked into your body. They need to be stable. You're trying to create this triangle of strength. 1 elbow, 2 elbows, and then you're touching with your hands as well. All right, so this is what coned up looks like. And now I'm going to do coned down. So coning down, again, with the heel of my left hand, I'm going to be taking care of the walls. And I can sort of wrap around a little bit. I usually leave my thumb up, and then I karate chop. But I want my hands to touch, so I'm still in my triangle of strength. So I'm sort of leaning against my thumb and touching right here, and I'm pushing downward and inward. Really, at the end, like right now, I'm looking for that cupcake. At the end, I'm barely pushing down anymore. I leave my hand there, but most of my push is inward towards center with my left hand. All right, so we're looking for the cupcake. I clean up regularly. You're not going to see a big mess on my wheel because I don't like a big mess at the end, but it's up to you. Hands are wet. Every time I cone up and down, I switch. I get more wetness on my hands. Okay, so we're coning back up. So I'm squeezing it, the clay, and it goes up. Kind of got a little bowl in there right now, but I'm going to take care of that on the way down. A little bit of water, and inward and downward. So since I got a little bowl, I'm just going to hit it at an angle. Down, in, hold real steady, and slowly release. One of the things that I see you guys do is you try and lift the piece up and your hands are outward like this, and you'll do it really quickly in a way that gets these corkscrews on the side. I need you to turn your hands like this, try and use the heels of your hands and squish the clay, okay? Another mistake that you will do is in the coning down, I'm washing my hands because I don't like a lot of gunk on them. Once you build up a lot of slip, that's basically what this is, you take off a lot of slip, okay? So clean your hands every once in a while. All right, so that second mistake is pushing down too hard and not pushing in with your left hand very hard. And so you end up with this mushroom. So that's another mistake. And then a third mistake is I've got my nice cupcake right now and I just release too quick. I just let go normally and it's too fast. You've got to do it in like slow motion. So you can see the clay is dancing. You want to stop the dancing. So I'm going to just push in right now and I'm starting to release and my release is done. So that was like the slow motion release. All right, next thing. Now that it's centered, it's time to open this lump of clay. So what I do is I get my thumbs wet, I kind of go around it, and then I dig down. Now you guys are probably going to need to stop and check with your needle tool until you get a feel for what is too thick and too thin. So I'm stopping the wheel with my feet. I get my needle tool, and what I'm looking for is 1/4 of an inch on cups and bowls. Sorry, 1/4 of an inch on cups and maybe a little bit thicker on bowls, just because you're gonna do a foot. So I stab and then I put my finger down inside and I grip and I keep my finger in that same place and I pull out and I look for the difference between the tip and where my finger was touching the clay. That's about 1/4 of an inch. I might even have a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch, which kind of worries me. All right, so that's step 1 in opening. Now we're gonna do step 2. I need to get my hand in there. Right now I can only kind of get 2 fingers in there. So we're gonna do part 2 to opening. So what you're gonna do, there are different ways to open. I'm gonna show you one way. Second semester I'll show a different way. But I put my right hand on the outside. I put my longest finger right here in the middle on the right side. And I hold and I push towards the right. Remember that we talked about most of the work happens on between 3 and 6 o'clock because it has to do with the way that the wheel is spinning. When it's spinning this way, if my fingers mess up, my fingers just kind of slide forward. Over here, if you end up working over here, your fingers can gouge the piece and you end up with a nick in your piece. All right, so now this is big enough. And I'm gonna take my wood rib and I'm going to always use this as the bottom. Right now, I'm holding it for myself. I look at the right side, this is my right side, and I have a corner here that's going to make the corner of the cup. If I want to make a bowl, I switch to the round side. All right, so I'm going back to this, and you're going to hold 2 hands like this, and stabilize yourself, and then you're going to push down in the middle. You're going to have to see this up close to be able to see what it does in the middle. But now there's a nice flat bottom. I took out a little bit here that's made a sharp corner at the bottom, and I'm ready to go to the 3rd step. So the 3rd step is getting this thick rim of thick donut of clay out here and getting it into thin walls. So we're going to pull the clay. I tend to pull with a sponge in my hand, my right hand, and my left hand's gonna go inside. I'll put a little water in here because it's not quite slippery enough. But I make a little groove with my thumb. It could be with your finger if you want, but you need to get under this lump of clay here and get it tall. You're making 2 cups and 2 bowls. So I'm gonna make a cup on this one, and then I'll do a bowl also. So I'm gonna take my tall finger on my right hand, and inside my sponge, I'm gonna stick it right into that groove I made. And then I'm gonna take my finger from my left hand and put it across. And always be touching if you can. You guys are not gonna be that tall, so stabilize yourself. I'm tucked in right here, I'm tucked in here, and again, I'm tucked right here. So that's the triangle strength is still going. So I'm pinching. I'm pinching and I'm moving upward. As you get to the top, you sort of lighten your touch a little bit. It's easy to go through. I think I have enough speed. The fastest is at the beginning and the slowest is at the end. As you get thinner and thinner, your piece can fall open. So you gotta slow down your wheel, which also means you have to slow down your hands. You want a full rotation. I'm gonna do a groove every time. I've learned to make a groove every time so that I don't waste clay. All right, sticking that right finger inside the groove, left thumb on top of my right hand, pulling the wall again. Usually you pull 3 times. It depends on how quickly your clay moves. This is nice, good clay. And in order to make a cup, you'll see me pushing with my right hand in towards center. I'll show you the difference on a bowl. All right, so now my hand, I'm gonna stick all of it in because I was leaving my finger out, but it's getting so tall I can't leave that finger out anymore. New groove. Finger in that spot, can't quite touch, but I will as soon as I can. And I have a nice tall piece. I do not expect my beginning throwers to get this tall. Okay? There isn't a height requirement. You just gotta get on and throw because this will take you a little bit. Okay? All right. So now I have my walls, they're thin enough. That's step 3. And then I'm gonna do step 4, which is shape it. You guys can do whatever shape you want. It could just be kind of accidental at the beginning. My advanced throwers are supposed to be throwing on purpose. I'm gonna do a little shaping with this flexible credit card, like a rib, and I'm gonna hold it in a groove, in a bended shape, and kind of use it to give me a curve on my pot. So that's kind of it. I like to leave a little bit of space at the top with no texture, just because I don't like texture on my lips when I am drinking out of a cup. But you can play with texture, or you can just leave it completely plain. Sometimes I will take a credit card and I will put some texture in it. Sometimes I will do it with my fingers. And I have a nice edge right here, and I have a nice edge at the top. And that texture will do stuff when I glaze. We'll see what it does. We're gonna put handles on our cups, and I'll show you that the day that I trim. And from now, that is the cup. Your turn. All right, what I need to do now is I need to transfer this cup over here to a board. So you might want to use a small board because you have a small locker, little area. I am gonna transfer it to this bigger board here. Please be sure you get a Sharpie and you write your name on your newspaper. Otherwise, I find them in there with no name and then I just throw them away. So please make sure that you do that. Protect your stuff. Put it in your locker. It's way safer there than anywhere else. All right, taking it off. What I want to do is I want to put some water here for my sponge. Not that necessarily the whole sponge, but I'm going to take my wire cutter. I hold tight like this, put all fingers on the wire, slide till you hit the wood. Fingers out, wrap, maybe twice, depends on how big it is. I don't want to hit this thing while I'm going by. So, but I do want to be close to it. It's possible to cut the bottom out if you're too wide on it. So I'm pushing the water up next to it and I'm trying to get the water underneath it. And again, maybe 3 times, but kind of moved on that one, so I think I'm good. You either need to let the wire out in here or unwind as slow as you wound it together, because it will flick clay back in your hair or on your face. All right, so now that the water slide is here, I put my hand at the back wide like this, and I put my other hand here to catch, and I push just at the bottom and it slides across, and I catch the piece, and then I set it down. And we try to only touch the bottom because we're gonna flip it over in a few days and give it a trim, and all my finger marks will go away. So that is a water slide. Second semester I can show you a dry release also, but let's start with the water slide method. I just centered another piece, and this time instead of making a cup, I'm gonna make a bowl. So it's centered, I'm gonna open, straight down, double thumb. Do not stretch your thumbs, that's a really bad habit to get into. Because you end up pulling to the left side and you want everything to happen over here, not over here. You can knock it off center. All right, so right hand on the outside, left hand like this, and holding on to my right hand and push it open. Always holding your hand. And I'm gonna shove down in the middle and make a curved corner down there. All right, so it looks pretty good on the bottom. And now I'm gonna get this lump of clay, I'm gonna do my groove, same thing, everything's the same, except right with the rib and with the way that you pull. So when you pull, for a cup, your sponge hand, your right hand pushes towards center. For a bowl, you lean away from center so that it goes outward. Get lighter as you go to the top. Use this and kind of go over the edge and don't get it too thin. I'm going to do it again. New groove. New pull. My wheel is starting to slow down, but you do want to slow down as it gets thinner. Can fall open if you go too fast on it, and then that means as you slow your wheel down, you also need to move a little slower so you get a full rotation in your hand before you've moved on to the next spot. All right, I usually keep my bowls a little bit thicker at the top, just because that's where it's going to break. You can mess with the shape of this if you like. Belly out the pot. We taught you this week about the names of the bowl, parts of the pieces. Okay, and that's kind of it. Take the water out. You don't want to get cracks in the bottom. If you leave water in there, it gets overly soaked at the bottom and it dries differently than the top. And that's it. You're making 2 cups. We'll put handles on these and I'll show you how to trim sometime in the next 4 or 5 days. That's it.